Good morning, YouTube. I've showed you some earlier videos where I've been using my iCharger 1010 charger to test 20p battery packs on my power shelf, and this is the setup I've been using. And over on the side is the power input to the iCharger, and that's coming off of a 4S battery. So let me show you here. This is the kind of results I was getting off of that. So this was my first pass where I just took my first 4 groups of 20 cells and put them into the bottom of the power shelf, hooked up the BMS board, and in the blue here, that's the input voltage. You can see over here on the side, input voltage. And this was the tail end of discharging the bottom 4S pack. So I was at 14.9 volts. It ran down here to about 13.1, at which point the BMS shut off because one of the groups of cells had dropped below 2.5 volts. So at that point, what I did was I was using this 4S pack to power the power shelf and the iCharger while I was testing the other 6 groups of cells that I had selected. So once I finished testing the other 6 groups, I picked the 4 most closely matched out of those 6. So here again in the blue is the 4S input voltage, and we started this one at 14.25 volts. So we got down to about 12.8 volts before the BMS disconnected. Again, that was when one of the 4 groups of cells dropped below 2.5. These 4 groups of cells were within about 750 milliamp hours of each other, and I got down to the 12.8 volt range before the BMS shut off. So this is the final battery pack that I put together the other week in the most recent video, and this was again my packs 1 through 4 that I started with, but this was after I had matched the capacities of those 4 groups of cells, and I got them within about 250 milliamp hours of each other. And so I was running this yesterday. I was doing a 3 amp charge, the green line, and the 4S voltage here is in blue. Started at about 14.5 volts. It dropped down until I hit about 12.1 volts, and that's where I have the iCharger configured to shut off at 12.0 volts. But what it does, I've seen this before, and this was the first time I've got it on the LogView application. Once it gets to about 12.1 volts, it throttles back on its input and charging current. You can see here in green the charging current has dropped to about 0.5 amp here, and it's trying to keep the input voltage about 12.1 volts. And in fact, if we go over here to the table, you can see here it's holding 12.094087. So it's basically dropping the charging current off to hold the input voltage above 12 volts. I let that go about 15 minutes before I shut it off because I wanted to get the battery pack outside and get it charged. And let me show you what that looks like on a per cell basis. And so it's again my packs 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I put the amp hour capacity here. Pack 1 is my highest capacity pack, 32.95 amp hours. Pack 3 is the lowest at 32.72, and this is where I started. I had all 4 packs fully discharged. I did a bottom balance, so you can see I went from here up to here, and then over the week I've been charging and discharging the battery through about 4 or 5 cycles. And then this is where I was doing that last 3 amp charge. And right here, pack number 1 was 3.38 volts. Pack 2 and 3 were down in the 2.8 volt range. And then pack 4 was like 3.1 volts. But anyway, I think that looks pretty impressive. I was able to get all the way down to 12.1 volts there. So I'm pretty happy with that bottom balance. I think I need to work on my bottom balancing technique. I don't think I was quite fully bottom balanced here because this pack 1 was a little bit higher than the other ones, 600 millivolt difference there. This was running without a BMS board. It's just the 4 groups of cells in series. It runs right down to 12 volts, which is my 3 volt per cell cutoff. But so far I'm liking the way that bottom balancing is looking. That looks pretty promising. And what I want to do is maybe follow that 1 battery through a few more cycles here, run it down again, and then bring it back up and down again and up. So that might take another week or 10 days to go through a few more cycles there to see how this holds up over time and see how the bottom balance compares to the top balance that I have. So I'll keep you updated on how this bottom balance pack is working. But so far, I think it's working pretty well. That looks pretty promising. Put some links to some of the other power wall videos over here on the left side. And if you have any questions, post that up in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.